Hello, this is the Peng Sports Podcast, episode 24, and this is Kamal Daniels. And for this intro, I was planning on singing. And while I was writing the script for me to sing, I thought to myself, I don't want my kids to get bullied in high school. So I decided not to sing this episode. And I probably won't sing in any other episode from now on. Because I think I've given a few notes here and there in a few other Peng Sports podcasts, but no more singing from Kamal Daniels because I care about the well-being, the mental health of my children. But it is August the 11th at 7:20 a.m. and we are almost halfway done with August. And then it'll be October. I skipped a month, September. And then it'll be October. Then it'll be November, then December, then January. So, what do you have planned for 2022? Start planning now. Start planning soon. Because it'll be here faster than you know it. Now, what's coming back faster than you know it is football. The Premier League starts 2022 season starts in like 2 days. I think it starts Friday. All right, we're back. It's 7:26 a.m. and I had to pause because there's a man cutting the grass on a lawnmower and I don't want that in the background, to be completely honest with you. But let's get into some football. Let's get into some sports. I'm going to try and do this podcast as quickly as possible. So if I rush and if it sounds like my words sound conjoined, it's because I am rushing because I'm trying to get this podcast done, get it out to the folks, get it out to the people, my fans. But football, let's start with football. Josh Sargent, let's start with transfer rumors because that's the only thing that's going on. I thought transfer stuff was done last week. And then I saw Romelu Lukaku transfer, but I thought it was sort of like an Erling Haaland thing. But we'll get into that later. First transfer I want to talk about is Josh Sargent going to Norwich City. Big move for U.S. Soccer, plays for Norwich. If he goes to Norwich City, does well for Norwich City, he can get picked up by a bigger club, Crystal Palace, Everton, Newcastle. I think it helps. It definitely doesn't hurt. He plays in one of the best leagues in the world. He speaks English. It's an English-speaking league. I think this is a good move for Josh Sargent. I believe he's on, not 100%. I'm not going to say it, but I know he's playing for Norwich City this season. And it's going to be exciting. Hopefully he gets a lot of playing time. And to stay in the Premier League, I touched on this a little bit. Romelu Lukaku going to Chelsea. And to have a striker now, Chelsea, they don't need to play a false nine with Kai Havertz. They have a proven finisher. They don't have to worry about, is he going to finish this with Timo Werner? And I think Timo Werner is a very good player. But now Timo Werner can play on the wing. They can maybe do an inverted winger, so they have somewhat two strikers. But I think he will play wing. Then Mason Mount can easily play left or right. He's one of those kind of players where you can sort of plug him attacking mid, center, midfield, winger, false nine. And of course, you have an extra body on the wings with Pulisic. You have an extra body in the midfield with the added player, more depth. Romelu Lukaku will be playing with a chip on his shoulder, the second best striker in my opinion in the world. Harry Kane can get that back really quickly with another good season, but I just think Romelu Lukaku is a man more in form, if that makes sense. That's why he's a better striker. Maybe not a better passer, but all in all, you want your striker to finish. And right now, he's just a man in form. So that's why he's number 2 behind Robert Lewandowski, of course. And I think this year he will be the most impactful summer transfer. I think he's going to make the biggest impact with the Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup, Chelsea this year will win some more silverware, to be completely honest with you. I think last year they finished the season last year, but I don't think the style of play that they were playing is sustainable. And Tuchel doesn't really play that way. He's a more possession style guy, but he's not really a sit back. I think because of COVID, halfway through the season, I definitely think this Chelsea team is going to be a more expansive team, a better team, and it's going to be exciting. Manchester City with Grealish, Manchester City, Community Shield, you lose. Doesn't really, it matters, but if you win, you win, and you lose. Good for Leicester City. Where's Leicester City finishing this year? Are they finishing fifth again, or finishing fourth again? They say they slipped 2 years in a row. I think it was more of a Liverpool being in form and a Leicester City playing regular. Liverpool ended the season phenomenally. Leicester City ended the season like they were still in the middle of the season. They were on cruise control. But what do you think about Chelsea this year? I think the most impactful transfer, the position that they needed, they got. And that's what you want to get in the transfer market. It's not always about signing a bunch of players. A team that did sign a bunch of players was PSG. One of those players was Lionel Messi, if you didn't know. And is PSG favorites for Champions League now with Messi? Well, the goal is to win Champions League, right? But are they favorites to win Champions League? I don't think so. I think they're fourth behind Manchester City, Chelsea, and Bayern Munich. That not in any particular order, but if I were to put money on who's going to win, I would put it on City, Chelsea, and Bayern Munich before PSG. With that, I just want to say football is back. It starts in 2 days. Champions League, the football is white. It's not red or purple or blue. Nice balls, but Champions League footballs are supposed to be white with accents of purple, blue, red. Right? PSG has goals for days, and that wouldn't have changed if PSG didn't get Messi. They still have goals for days. The problem this year, right, was last year was they could only score goals a certain type of way. Through balls over the top, or they let Neymar, Mbappe, Di Maria. Now they have Messi dribble through 7 players and they score a goal. And that works in French League, and that through ball method style worked against Bayern Munich. But they're going to have to get some build-up play. And they needed, Messi's great, but they needed a ball-playing midfielder. Well, they got that in Gini Wijnaldum, so congratulations to that. Then they need another center back because Kimpembe and Marquinhos need options. Maybe light a little fire over Kimpembe that this isn't guaranteed. You can make a mistake and we'll sub you out. So they got Sergio Ramos, another good pickup. And then they need a striker, in my opinion. Romelu Lukaku would have been great. But they didn't get a striker. They have Icardi. Give a young player a chance. Why not? They don't play enough youth players to have the best. I believe they have one of the best youth academies in France, and they don't play a lot of youth players, in my opinion. You know? But Messi's a good signing, but they got two out of 3 positions they needed, they got. Wijnaldum, ball playing mid. Oh, they need a right back as well, a wing back, and Hakimi, which is another good transfer. Donnarumma sort of a cherry on top. I think Keylor Navas is still a very solid keeper. Older, I guess. So I guess that's the reason why. But Wijnaldum and Hakimi will be have a bigger impact on PSG this season than Messi. I don't expect PSG to score. I like to see it in the season stats. PSG last year, well, 2020, 2021 goal scoring stats and 2022-2021 season goal scoring stats, because I don't think it's going to be that much of a disparity. I think Neymar may get less goals and more assists. Mbappe may get less goals, more assists. Di Maria will definitely get more assists than goals, I believe. Bernat is back. So Bernat left back, Marquinhos center back, Marquinhos right center back, Kimpembe left center back, Hakimi right back. And then Wijnaldum, Verratti, and Paredes, if you want to put it like that. Or you can put Ganagué or Danilo. Those three are sort of interchangeable, Ganagué, Paredes, and Danilo. Then I guess you would play a false nine, Messi, Neymar left, Di Maria or Draxler, or, of course, it'd be Mbappe, right? But they have depth. Important. But the problem for PSG for me is they feel more like a brand than a football club. They have high-profile players, Jordan sponsorship in Paris. All sound to me like a very high-fashion Paris brand, to be completely honest with you, not a football club. They don't have any protein. They don't have any cafeteria ladies or janitors, if that makes sense. See, the Champions League is, of course, one-off talent. Even when Porto won, they had talent. Half those players went to bigger clubs after they won Champions League. Won other Champions Leagues, It's one-off a talent, but it's one-off chemistry. That's why Porto won the Champions League. That's why Inter Milan won the Champions League. Yes, Jose Mourinho is a culture builder. If you give him 2 years, 3 years, maybe he can't build the culture. But it's also a different day and age. So that has a factor, right? But when you look at the other Champions League winners, like a Chelsea, last year, Jorginho, been there for time, Conte, Mason Mount, Rudiger, Azpilicueta, it means something a little bit more to them. They've been there late hours, like janitors, like cafeteria ladies. They're there in the morning. They care a little bit more. They know the school. They know the club inside and out, right? Mason Mount's been there his whole career. It means a little bit more when you care. Yeah, more pressure sometimes, but it makes you slide in when sometimes maybe the slide isn't maybe the best option, but you just got to get the ball. It means something, right? Bayern Munich, Müller, Boateng, Alaba, Lewandowski. I'm sure Lewandowski I'm pretty sure he loved Bayern Munich when he first came there from Borussia Dortmund. But he didn't care for it like he did. Oh, we win all the time. We win another league. I see they won their 9th Bundesliga now. They look a little bit more happier than maybe when they won their 5th in a row or 6th in a row, When you care a little bit more, it shows, and it shows with the chemistry. When you care for each other, you're going to want to know your teammate better. Oh, I shouldn't do this because it make him mad, or not necessarily make him mad, but it won't set him up for success the best. If I'm selfish with how I play. You're a little bit less unselfish, right? And then it comes around, you say, hey, the teammate comes to you and say, hey, you don't have to be as selfish. Dribble the ball, and you just get more comfort, and you care a little bit more. It's comfortability builds chemistry. Right? And one team that is going to be comfortable this year, side little tangent. Manchester City. Yeah, they signed Jack Grealish, good player. But I think they care a little bit more this year. I think Raheem Sterling cares a little bit. Not cares, but he'll get more playing time, and he's going to care a little bit more. Losing in Champions League. That hurts. Losing in European championships. It hurts. Phil Foden cares a little bit more. I think Diaz will care. And they're building chemistry. Kyle Walker's been there for some time. Just like Chelsea, Manchester City are going to be a very dangerous team in the Champions League this year. Maybe not Premier League. I have them getting second behind Liverpool. I think Liverpool wins the Champions League, Premier League again. 2 times in 3 years. But Manchester City are going to be dangerous because they care a little bit more, right? And you see PSG, as I said, sign a bunch of great players who don't speak French. Maybe they don't even want, some of them I don't even think they want to learn French. Neymar doesn't even know French. And you start to see it's starting to make sense that I see why they lost to Lille in the preseason, in their Community Shield. I see why they lost the league last year. When PSG doesn't win the league, they lose the league. Qualifying for Champions League is not adequate for PSG in the French league. It's not. But you see why they lost the Liga last year. You see why they made it to the semifinals last year. With Messi joining PSG, he left Barcelona. Had a heartfelt conversation, a press conference. And I'm not really here to comment on the press conference and the details, semantics of him leaving. You know, La Liga didn't want him to do that. It's a lot of things that go into it, right? Barcelona in debt. But Barcelona are going to be good this year, I believe. I think, like I talked about LeBron last week, right? Where you play with LeBron, there's a little bit more pressure to play with him. And it's tough to be a Kyle Kuzma when you're not a spot-up shoot 3 guy like a J.R. Smith or Alex Caruso. You know? It's tough. It's tough to get ingratiated into the system. You can be not everyone can be a Sergio Busquets. Right? Griezmann played striker. Messi played striker. False 9-ish. I just think that was sort of a mute point, but I'm just saying what my point is, really. Messi is sort of like LeBron, where you just play with more pressure, man. And I think Griezmann was expected to be the next guy to push them over the top, and he wasn't. And that went into his mind, right? It got into his mind. So I expect a more free Griezmann. Depay looks better. Their jerseys look better than I thought they did. In person, it looks better. I think Dembele will get more time, right? I just think less pressure helps sometimes, right? It may mean you care a little bit less or there's less emphasis on you, but I think we will see a freer Barcelona this year. Expect them to make at least the Champions League quarterfinals. They got knocked in the first round last year. And at least second place in La Liga. At least quarterfinals. They can make semifinals and they can get second in La Liga. And with second in La Liga, but speaking of La Liga, I'm trying to figure out a transition here. I can't think of one when I was writing the script, and I still don't have one in my mind. But here's what I'm saying. Spain has 3 gold medals. Barcelona finished second. 2, 3, transition. Boom, bam. But Spain with 3 gold medals just made us out on the top 10. 22nd in golds. Here at Peng Sports, we don't care about how many medals you have in total. We care about how many golds you have. Because we care about winners here. Not second place. Second place is just first loser. To be completely honest with you. But here's the gold medal count. At 10, we have 3 teams. Italy, Germany, France, and the Netherlands. They're 10 through 7. Italy, of course, have the fastest men in the world. Germany have great sausages. Pause. France. They speak French. We talked about this. Fencing last week. Netherlands. Biking. All European nations, probably the biggest European nations in the world. Who are the most? Germany, Italy, France, yeah. At 6, Australia. They got a little bit more goals the final few weeks. A little bit more medals. Got silver in the basketball. No, they got bronze in basketball. Hey, man. Congratulations to us, Australia. Down under. At number 6. 5, the Russian Olympic Committee. A country with no representation, but they have a committee representing them. At 5, Russia. The team that got 4th, or the Olympic team that got 4th that has 4 nations in it, I believe. Great Britain, 22 golds. My grandmother has only known one queen, and that is Queen Elizabeth II. My whole family only knows Queen Elizabeth II and Queen Elizabeth I because of history, but that's neither here nor there. But we've only been alive for one monarch. It's time for a change. The host, Japan, at 27 gold. Having the Olympics in Japan was a great idea. In hindsight. Having it a place where everyone in the Air Force and Navy want to be stationed. Just poor timing history-wise, man. Just poor timing. Like, the timing couldn't have been any worse. And just not a good time. Good idea, though. Just not a good time. In second, we have a new second place, China. Yes, China has dropped to second place. They had a 7 gold margin, but the final few days of the Olympics, the United States caught up to them. Track. U.S. not as dominant as in track as in former years. Women's and men's just not as dominant. Good, but not as dominant. But they got the job done. And that's all you can ask for. And swept men's basketball and women's basketball. I mean to say swept basketball, men's and women's. I don't totally remember my comments of what I said about the men's basketball team, but if it was hate, please forgive me. There were definitely some doubters. Good for them. Good for them. Shutting up the doubters. Preseason, guys. Preseason. We don't judge teams off preseason. France may have been a little bit of a scare, but Fournier was talking a little spicy there, so they sort of woke up the United States men's national team, and they went undefeated since. They won when it mattered. And the gap is still wide. And I think in Europe or foreign countries it's rotating. I think it's going to be, it was Spain, now it's France. And then it'll be Australia. It's a rotation it's a puff pass sort of ordeal with basketball, men's basketball and other nations. United States consistency. That's what they have. Jalen Green looks good. Cade Cunningham looks good. Jalen Suggs looks good. Evan Mobley. I don't think Evan Mobley has played. If he has, I haven't seen him. But we just produce him. It's like clockwork. France produces some, but we have a farm over here. It's sort of unfair. Women's basketball. That's unfair. Do we really need to have women's basketball in the Olympics? I mean, if you're going to have it, just have a second place, kind of thing. And they just play, if they want to play the United States in the final, do it. It'll make it more fair. United States is getting warm-up games. Then another country I just don't think it's very fair when it's basketball in the Olympics. At least have Nigeria get one Abumake's sister, right? One. But, hey, that's neither here nor there. But the WNBA does start on the 15th. It has your favorite stars on it, man. Connecticut stars, Connecticut players. But WNBA is interesting because they stopped basketball, right? In the middle of the season, they stopped it for Olympic play, which is cool, which is good. But how does that feel? Because last year they got paused in the middle of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Or they started late. But they started not when they were supposed to start. They sort of took a break. Then they take a break again this year. How does that feel for a WNBA player? Do they like it? Do they enjoy it? I feel like usually in most years, if it wasn't a pandemic, they would be cool with it. But, things could happen. Players can get COVID. They had the All-Star break, so they had another small break between it. It's just a lot of breaks for the WNBA season. And right now the standings are looking like, in the Eastern Conference at least, let's look at the Eastern Conference. Mystics in the 4th spot at 8-10. They won a title 2 years back, right? And they're below 500. Liberty, 3rd seed, Sabrina Ionescu. Chicago, the Chicago Sky are going to win the championship. Going to be the first team to win the championship from Chicago before the Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, I don't know their hockey team, Bears. They're going to be the next championship winning team from Chicago. Then in first place, the Connecticut Sun, who finished under 500 last year. They have Jonquel Jones. She's an MVP frontrunner. She's Bahamian and Bosnian. I think she has Bosnian citizenship. But that's the great thing about the WNBA. It's sort of how... Well, I don't want to say that's... Talk about Jonquel Jordan, but Connecticut someone under 500, and the Mystics are below 500 this year, and they won the championship 2 years back. It's an ever-changing league in the WNBA. The WNBA is sort of what the NBA wants to be, where they draft players. And I'm realizing, looking at the WNBA, maybe they need more teams, but the NBA doesn't need as many teams now that I'm looking at it. Imagine if there were, maybe less opportunities. So no, that's not necessarily a good thing. But the super team thing is a byproduct of having so many teams, right? And sort of having so many teams, you need more talent. More talented people come. But if you want a league where no super teams happen, you need to have less teams. So more of good players can play together. But the WNBA and women's basketball is interesting because it's sort of how basketball was in the 80s and 90s, how people describe it. Where players stay for 4 years, right? You know them, you get to understand them, you get to care for them, you build chemistry with them. And there are probably more WN players believe it or not, per capita than NBA players. Like, you could probably name 5 WNBA players out of 10. Per 10 NBA players, WNBA players, you can name 5. NBA is probably about 2 out of 10. You know the stars, but you don't know a player for the Pistons. You probably know at least one player for each WNBA team. I wouldn't be surprised if you know 2, 3, 4, 5. Because they're in college a little longer. And their personalities. Liz Cambridge, I don't believe, went to college in the United States. But they have personalities. They have style. You gotta get on the WNBA. Get on the WNBA, man. Western Conference standings, real quick. Western Conference has 2 best teams with the 2 best records. But first, in 4th, they have the Mercury. 3rd, the Goats. The team of the year, the team of the seasons. The Bulls, if I might add, of the WNBA. For me, the Minnesota Lynx. Dominant. They don't have a 30 for 30 for them. They have a Bulls 30 for 30. They have a 30 for 30 talking about women's basketball before the WNBA. But do they have a WNBA 30 for 30? Comment below if they do. But I don't believe they do. I like to see it. I like to see that documentary. A 30 for 30 on the WNBA. Sacramento winning a ship. I didn't even know that. Sacramento won a championship, but they don't talk about it. WNBA championship. But anyway, Aces at number 2 in the number 2 seed. Got some players, man. As I said, Liz Cambridge, Kelsey Plum, Asia Wilson. They got players in Las Vegas. And they had the best jerseys in all of basketball. NBA, college basketball, women's college basketball. Best jerseys go to the Las Vegas Aces. By a landslide. I don't know who's designing jerseys for the WNBA. But whoever's designed jerseys for them need to get on the NBA. Because, as I said in other podcasts, the NBA has the weakest white jerseys. Weakest home jerseys. Just piss poor, man. Let's get on it. At number 1, the Storm, Breanna Stewart, Sue Bird, Jewel Lewis. There goes a big 3 right there. I don't know necessarily if they out-drafted them, but I know they drafted Sue Bird and Breanna Stewart. And I'm pretty sure they drafted Jewel Lloyd. Not 100%. Jewel Lloyd left college early as well. Anyways, big 3 drafted. That's what you want, right, from the NBA. To draft the players. Well, the WNBA has it. Everything you want, the WNBA has. Check it out. But it is a cutthroat league because if you don't ball, there's no G League, there's no nothing. You can play in Europe, which most of them do, but it's a cutthroat league, the WNBA. It's always interested me how do WNBA players view the WNBA? Is it a vacation league? Do they really care? Do they save themselves for Europe, some of them? Always interested me because they play a lot of basketball. Right? A lot of basketball. Year-round basketball. They're playing AAU basketball year-round. Anyone who's played AAU knows it's a pretty demanding thing, even when you're 11. Right? But Katie's the Breanna Stewart of the NBA. Jonquel Jones, MVP candidate. Liz Cambridge, MVP candidate. Asia Wilson, MVP candidate. 2 MVP candidates on the same team. And their second best player, second best record in the league. Not too far from being 3rd. You guys talk about parity. WNBA has parity, people. It's just, you complain about you want all these things, but I got the solution. You listen to the Peng Sports Podcast, the Rush Peng Sports Podcast, episode 24. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks you guys for staying, man. But WNBA, check it out. And get on it fast because you want to be one of those dudes that say, hey, I was on the WNBA before all you boys. I was on it. You know, everyone likes to flex. Have a humble flex. Humble brag. And remember, inclusion makes us better. And you all listening or watching the Peng Sports Podcast makes me a better person. So thank you for listening. This is the Peng Sports Podcast. I apologize if it sounded rushed. But, again, guy cutting grass in the background. I don't know when he's going to be back out. This is Peng Sports Podcast, episode 24. Kobe. You guys have a good rest of the week. Have a good afternoon. This is Kamal Daniels signing out.